Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to episode number 6. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight on the Sling'N podcast is Kerry Davis of Dark Angel Medical. Kerry, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. So, Kerry, why don't you tell the folks at home who you are and what you bring to the table? What is Dark Angel Medical?
Well, Dark Angel Medical came about as a conversation I had with a buddy of mine. It was while I was still with Magpul, and I was just looking at going out and doing some stuff on my own because I just felt the need to get this kind of training out to folks. And prior to that, the background I had was medical. I'd started out in the Air Force as a ground medic. Then I took a special duty assignment with the Army up at Fort Bragg, and we supported those guys a good bit. And so worked up there as a flight medic. Then I worked in Montgomery, Alabama while I was teaching officer training school. I was teaching medical courses there, and I worked as a paramedic down there in Montgomery, and went back to nursing school there and got my RN. So, been Gaylord Fokker, man nurse extraordinaire for like the last 16 years. Been doing ER and critical care. So, I've always enjoyed shooting, and that's where I started working with Magpul because they were about 5 miles from my house up in Colorado, up near Boulder. And I moved out there to take a job in the hospital. And so it kind of progressed. And so the whole Dark Angel Medical thing, I'd been teaching the medical stuff with Magpul for a couple of years. And I said, I think this could get out a little bit more than what it is right now. And with the products and everything, the kits. And so it just kind of snowballed. And I started doing that. And I started teaching up at Sig Sauer Academy as an instructor. And I've been doing part-time employee stuff up there. Been a firearms instructor, medical instructor up there since 2011. So it's been a good time. But the big thing with us is just trying to impact as many people's lives as possible. And that's with there's a lot of companies out there that sell product, but there's not a whole lot of companies out there that do product and training. And I think that's kind of where our win kind of came in. And the fact is, I've got 2 other guys that work with me that are super passionate, and they're brothers, and Mike and Ross. And it was like we're the 3 Stooges, 3 Musketeers, 3 peas in the pod. I don't know, but we're something, and they're awesome when we all get together. And that's just, I don't know, that's the company. That's how we're going. And we're just hoping to make more of a difference out there. That's it.
I'll tell you what, you can't argue with that, man.
Awesome. Yeah. How long have you been operating under that flag, under Dark Angel? What years?
We technically started Dark Angel Medical in August of 2011. I left Magpul in June of 2011 and started Dark Angel Medical in August, and then started teaching up at SIG in September. So 2011 was a pretty busy year for us.
Yeah, obviously. So that's what everybody came here for, as far as the medical and the we'll certainly delve down the rabbit hole as far as you want on a bunch of topics that you are the SME in the room on, for sure. But before we get there, who are you, man? Who are you as a person? What do you when you're not saving the world one tourniquet at a time and teaching people how to pew pew and stuff? What are you doing when you're not doing that, or is that all consuming now?
Oh man, I'm just a country boy from Route 2, Seminary, Mississippi. And I get a little choked up when I talk about this, man. I get to do what I love, and you can't say a whole lot about, a lot of people can't say that. And, I'm always, I try not to work all the time. And that's one thing my wife has gotten onto me about, bless her heart. And, but I try, I've spent so much time on the road. I try to spend as much time with them as possible. And, the big thing is with them, I'm trying to I don't talk about work, but it still kind of creeps in there because that's something I've dedicated my life to. But no, man, I love to read. I love music. My daddy was a Baptist preacher, so I grew up in church. I'm not exactly, he'd probably be a little disappointed in me. My mom would be more disappointed in me than he would be. But no, I started playing piano in church when I was like 8 years old. So I love to play piano. I love music, piano, sax, drums, guitar, that kind of thing. And love to just hang out with my family. I mean, I love to go to the range, but more than anything, I like to be outside and do stuff. Tinker around with my guns. I like to watch Bill Burr. He's kind of funny.
he just put out that new special. Do you see that? Paper
Dude,
Tiger?
I was watching Madden. My wife and I, that's not her type of humor. And we were flying back. I just taught a private class last week in Louisiana, and we were flying back from that, and I was watching it. I downloaded it, and I was watching it, and I was sitting there shaking his seat, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But yeah, that's me, man. I like to take it easy. One of my other favorite TV shows is Archer. Obviously, not a very PC show in the least, but Archer is one of my spirit animals.
Well, I can only get so erect, Kerry. You got to stop this. I'll give you an Archer reference right there. I can only get so erect. Man.
Exactly. Well, I'm sitting in the middle of my little gun room. I like to call Fort Kickass. So there you go.
Very, very cool. So
yeah,
I know I'm not going to try to choke you up twice in one go around, but this one might too, and I don't even mean to. What number are we on? How many saves, dude?
107. 107.
Man. See,
yeah.
Now that's the shit that we're here to talk about tonight, because
everybody
in this business wants to be Billy Badass and put dudes down and drill holes and run around and fucking be awesome. The products and training that you're putting out there are actually doing the exact opposite and keeping people on the planet. And that's something that I highly respect. I know TJ does. So 107 saves. Can you share how you started recording that data and what's it like to get hit up by a dude or a girl and say, hey, this happened? That's got to be the most important part of the business, right?
It honestly is, man. I mean, my ex and I started the business, and my ex came into it later on, and me and her still partners. And I remember we got our first save back in December it would happen. We got the letter in December of 2012, and so this guy wrote us and he said, hey, I'm in the Marine Corps. My mom got me this kit. I thought it was a pretty lame going away present, until I used it last week to save my best friend's life. And
very cool.
We sat there and we freaking bawled like babies, man, because I was like, you know what? If I never sold another kit, if I never taught another class, then one more person has got another birthday, and that's pretty freaking cool. It's an idea that I'd worked on for a while that kind of came to fruition, did something like that, and had a little downstream effect. So that was, that's why I tell people, I like to keep the lights on. I like to eat. And sometimes it's frustrating because there's people out there that just want, I want to get cheap, or I want to get that. And I'm like, well, it ain't about that. It ain't about the money, but that helps. It helps to keep the lights on, keep me fed. But it's knowing that somebody else has got another birthday, and now that number's up, and somebody's like, well, why do you, like you said, why'd you keep track? I said, I just thought it'd be cool to keep track of them, just to see, and just to see it's not necessarily measurable data, but it's just something we could track, and hey, or are we actually making a difference out there? And I've had guys tell me that were downrange that were like, hey, we've seen your kits all over the place, and dude, they're making a difference. So that's the ones we know of,
right.
And that's the best feedback you could ever hope to get.
So just so we're clear, so for the folks that might not be as familiar, when you're talking about 107 saves, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is 107 lives that have been saved by your equipment that you are aware of.
Yeah, our equipment. Yeah,
that's fantastic, man.
Yeah, pretty
Dude,
cool.
And this just goes to demonstrate Kent and I, and I'm sure Kerry as well, have fired tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of rounds combined on the flat range. In some cases, even on the live two-way range. But if you were to ask us, how many lives we've taken or how many bad guys we've stopped, I guarantee you that number would be incredibly low. Definitely in the single digits. But when it comes to medical equipment, if you are not going to be the person that carries a gun or refuses to carry a gun, maybe you're even morally opposed to taking a human life, you should be carrying medical equipment, because that goes to show you right there that you are more likely to need medical equipment in everyday life than you would even a firearm. So if you're not going to carry a gun and get training with that, get medical equipment and carry that with you.
Yeah, 100%, man. And to echo what you, and to, or piggyback on what you're saying, is the freaking, I mean, I've never been anywhere I can't carry a med kit.
That's right.
Period. You know, if I've got my britches on, I've got a pistol on, you know, but if I don't have, if I can't carry that pistol, say at airport, courthouse, something like that, I've never had a problem with the med kit. And that's what I tell folks. And you just said it, you're more likely, it's a law of statistical averages, you are far more liable to need that medical training and that medical kit than you ever will, to draw that super tuned up Han Solo blaster you got. I mean, I love a good gun as much as anybody. I love to shoot. Yeah. I've always enjoyed it. But I've learned over the last few years, man, learning how to fix somebody it's easy. It's easy to break something. It's a hell of a lot easier to fix it, or a hell of a lot harder to fix it than it is to damage it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we're I think we're all on the same wavelength here.
Yeah, 100%.
It kills me.
So I'm curious. So,
go ahead, dude. My bad.
Yeah. So just to carry on, just to caveat onto what we were just talking about with 107 saves. What would you say is the most popular kit, or is there even a kit that you sell that is predominantly responsible for those saves?
Yeah, actually, I've got it right here hanging on my range bag. It's probably the dark, just our standard kit, the Gen 3 dark. That's been the one that's probably got the most saves behind it, because it's. And I would venture to say that's probably because there's more of them out there. More than likely, they're the most populous one. But I think we've been selling a lot of ankle kits, and those are out of stock right now, which sucks because everybody really liked them. I think Kent got one of the last ones, literally, dude. But
time for a refresh. My old one was nasty.
That will probably be the one, is a Gen 3 dark. That's probably been the one that's had the most saves on it.
Yeah, so
it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, do me a favor, Kerry. Hold that back up again. You mean to tell me that I don't have to run around with a backpack full of medical equipment like I'm storming the beaches of Normandy,
dude,
to be effective at treating casualties?
That was my thing when I wrote the curriculum up and designed these things. I was like, all right, it needs to be lightweight, compact, durable, easy to use. And I got to look into my tub full of nylon that I think all of us have, and I'm not getting rid of it because I might need it. And I looked at it. I was like, God Almighty, man, nothing I got is that, and that's the reason I'm not carrying one on a daily basis. Mind you, this has been back in 2008, and when I started working on this stuff, and so when that got designed, I was like, so you don't need that big Coleman lunchbox size med kit, and that you can get one more thing in, and then you're freaking looking for that one thing, and it turns into a dab blasted tactical yard sale, and you're just throwing crap all over the place, and it's in there, but it ain't where you need it. So yeah, 17.2 ounces of love.
There you go. Kent, what'd you have, man? Sorry to step on you.
No, you're good. Well, it amazes me how many people drive by car accidents, right? I mean, it's so easy to put yourself in tactical fantasy band camp and wait for the Mujahideen to storm Rite Aid or whatever, right? But truthfully, I've rolled up on more wrecks than anything else, right? I mean, and I was living up, you were teaching up in New Hampshire. You live up in Vermont. You run across a wreck, you might be the only person that sees that dude that afternoon. God forbid you have something to help the guy. It's just, it blows my mind. And people aren't willing to do the basic stuff. That's all.
Well, and that's one thing. One, it's I think a lot of it has to do with the fear of litigation. People, I mean, we live in a very litigious society. I mean, dude, there's people pissed off at Popeyes about running out of chicken sandwiches and suing them for not running out of a damn chicken sandwich. I mean, if they'll sue your butt over a chicken sandwich or running out of them, they'll sue you over anything. And I think that's honestly, that's what turns a lot of people off and scares them. But I'm like, okay, even if it wasn't to help your fellow man out, do it for your family, do it for your friends, you know, do it for yourself. I mean, and it's like all this stuff. I tell people that too. You hit on a very, very strong emotion I have with that is just, you know, you can be out, like I live in El Paso County, Colorado. It's one of the biggest counties out here, and you can have a very long response time. I mean, it doesn't take long to bleed out. And that's the reason all my kids have been through my classes, and they understand how to put a tourniquet on. We do tourniquet drills, and because it's probably going to be my dumb ass that falls off the roof and impales myself on something, you know, and they'll need to put a tourniquet on me. And that's kind of the way I look at it. But it's medical, just like having all your buddies come over with their guns, like you said, for your tactical fantasy band camp. It's a force multiplier. Having people, you know, bring all your friends with guns, but bring all friends with med kits too, because if stuff goes sideways and you start doing the bloody boogaloo, then I can guarantee you somebody's going to be bleeding out of a hole they wasn't born with. And you better know how to fix it. And because it just kind of goes hands in hand. There's so many parallels between guns and med kits. And that's kind of why I love having SIG as a platform to teach with up there, because I'm like, look, if you know how to use this, well, it's just a frame, but if you know how to use this, you better know how to use your med kit, because we've handicapped people by train how you fight. You know, we've all heard that, you know, train how you fight. That's all fine and good. What about after the fight? Have we trained to that side of it? You know, the fight's over. You know, now you're leaking from somewhere that you weren't leaking from originally, and now you got a problem. And that's where I tell people, train how you bleed. Don't just train how you fight, because you just win that fight and that's over with. You got to train how you bleed, because if you can't stop that bleeding yourself or your friend or your family member, loved one, whoever they may be, then that's when the real fight starts. And that's what I've been getting at for years, is train how you bleed. Don't just train how you fight, because you're handicapping yourself. We've only taught to half of what's been needed. So that's just my little personal soapbox.
Wait, you mean to tell me that after my civilian self-defense encounter, the mayor's not going to run out and give me the key to the city, and there's not going to be eagles and fireworks and supermodels and shit, and like people aren't? You mean there's more to it than that?
I mean,
shit.
To be fair, Kent, those are in the realm of possibility. We can't dismiss those.
Okay,
but you're gonna get some nice stainless steel bracelets initially too. I can tell you that. Get some good jewelry.
Yeah, it amazes me that nobody ever considers these possibilities. So, Kerry, let's break it down for the very basic level listener or watcher who, okay, this is all great, right? This sounds like a great idea. How the hell do I get started? What do I do if I got no idea what you're talking about? I don't know what one of these, besides www.darkangelmedical.com, right? But what is somebody's best first step?
Well, obviously it's eBay. No, I'm just kidding. No, don't buy anything off eBay or Yahoo or Amazon or anything like that. No, you can do your research, but the thing is, there's so much misinformation out there. I think now more than any time in history, we're an informed consumer, and that comes with some good pros and some really bad cons too. But I think if people have questions, shoot us an email. I mean, it might be me answering the email. If you have a question, hell, shoot Kerry at darkangelmedical.com or info@darkangelmedical.com and email, and we'll answer it. And if my customer service director, Deb, can't answer it, then she'll bounce it to me. And if I can't answer it, I'll talk to one of my buddies who's way smarter than I am and answer it. But that's the best thing, is to educate yourself and say, I don't know know what I need to get. I know I need to get something, but I don't know what to do. We also do online, or it's online training. It's just like little tutorial videos, and that's a good jumping off spot too. At the very basic, a stop the bleed class. But that's not where you need to stop. People think, oh, I got this 3.5 hours of training, I'm solid. Dude, not even. That's like taking a handgun 101 class and going, all right, I am good to carry this weapon concealed, and I'm good to put it by my nightstand. I am trained, all I need. Not even, I mean, that's like throwing a fat kid a Pez. It ain't happening. You know what I mean? That's you need more. And our course is 16 hours long. And I mean, it's like literally drinking from a fire hose. You're going to go from knowing nothing to doing full-on trauma assessments on people by the end of the second day. And we don't have any of the Hollywood glitz and, you know, disco balls and people popping smoke all over the place, things like that. It's not, because it's a lot of folks want to do style over substance, and that's not it. That's not what saves people's lives. Flash and glitz. And I think we saw some of that happen with some of this non-live training ammunition classes. Something just happened, you know, with a person getting shot.
Yep. Right here in my own backyard.
And and while all the cool stuff may be cool, you know, you got to learn it. You got to learn stuff in an easy to digest manner. So yeah, have them come to us. A stop the bleed class, an American Heart Association, American Red Cross, first aid, CPR, AED. I recommend everybody get that. If you got kids, get that class, you know, because I've done back blows on 2 of my 4 kids, you know, and that scared the ever living hell out of me. But that's probably the best thing I say. Start out with, you know, first aid, CPR, AED, stop the bleed class. And if you want to dedicate a whole weekend and get your learn on, then come talk to us, because, well, I mean, we will definitely give you your money's worth and then some.
So real quick. So while we're talking on the training part, first of all, we are getting some comments or questions in the comments section. First of all, Miss Albrecht says danger zone, reference to the archer. Love that. There you go. Yep. I wanted to go there, but I felt it premature.
So you're saying we're in a zone of danger?
Indeed. Anyway, so with that, so my question, we'll move on to the next question here after this. So we talk about, you know, you mentioned your kids have attended your courses.
Yes.
While of course there is always the answer of maturity is going to be, or maturation level is always going to be the biggest indicator. Yes. Have you found probably a really good age to start assessing your child as to when they might be mature enough to attend medical type classes?
That's a great question, man. And I think middle school age is probably good. The youngest kid I had in my class was 12 years old, but she was a very mature 12-year-old. And honestly, she whipped everybody's butt doing the patient assessments, everything. I think she absorbed more than anybody else in the class. There is also the level of comfort the parent has with the material, because I let them know up front, hey, if you're okay with your child taking this class, I'm okay with you bringing them. But just to let you know, there is some graphic content. You see some stuff that, you know, people might not ever see in their whole life. And as long as they're okay with that, then I'm okay with them coming. But I'd say middle school level. Like my youngest daughter was, how old was a little bit? She was 8 the first time she took it, but obviously I filtered out some of the stuff and had her leave the room for some of the material. But she just took one. She took it again at 12 and again just at 14. And at 14, I was like, okay, you're about to see some stuff you haven't seen the previous 2 times. So I would say middle schooler and above is probably the sweet spot age for these kids to come take the class. And again, I want to make sure I have the parents buy in on it. I don't mind them bringing their kids, because like I said, I think it's a force multiplier. When the parent's there with a kid, it shows the kid, to me as a dad, if I was a kid with my dad, it would show them, hey, they're interested in my well-being, you know. Mm-hmm. And And I've seen it more times than none turn into a competition, which is kind of cool because that kind of forces the other one to learn,
Right. So, excellent. That's excellent. I've got a 10-year-old son myself, and
Yeah.
Eventually, is someday soon, he's going to be watching after his baby sister. So, having that type of, dads everywhere can empathize with the idea of falling off of a roof and being impaled by something, because that's what dads do. Next question from the comment section. You mentioned litigious society and the liability involved typically or the concern of liability when stepping in as a good Samaritan.
Mm-hmm.
What liability should people be concerned about?
Honestly, more than anything, as long as you stay within your scope of training. That's what the big thing we talk about. Know your state's Good Samaritan laws, because every state has their own Good Samaritan laws. So know your state's Good Samaritan laws. And as long as you act within your scope of training, you should not have to worry about any kind of criminal litigation. Everyone is subject to civil litigation. You know what I mean? So that's the big one that you're gonna have to worry about. So even if, and I've heard this, and to me, this is pretty ungrateful. This guy this has been years and years and years ago, but the person saved him by doing CPR, but broke the guy's ribs, punctured his lung. He had a chest tube, all this kind of stuff. Long story short, the guy sued the person that saved his life. And this has been years and years ago. I was like, what a dick. I was just,
you say that, but at the same time, we got to look at the responsibility of the jury presiding over that case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It never. I mean, he lost, because the thing is, even still, they couldn't.
It gives me a glimmer of hope over humanity.
Yeah, they couldn't prove malfeasance. You know what I mean? They couldn't prove that it was done with ill will. It was done. That was a byproduct of saving this person's life. That is a byproduct of CPR. If you do good, effective CPR, I've done it many times, you're going to break ribs, and especially on an older person, because the ribs are more calcified. They're harder. Or they're more brittle, I should say. And so that's probably the big thing people have to worry about. And honestly, that's one of the big turnoffs why people don't respond to an accident, because they're I think more than not they're worried about getting sued. And that's why you see them doing this, right? Versus actually putting hands on somebody. I hope that I'm not trying to take the long way around the barn or be evasive or ambiguous. It's just, that is probably the biggest thing. The biggest thing is to worry about civil litigation more than criminal.
Okay. Go ahead, Kent.
That actually dovetails. You just dovetailed with the cell phone thing and the waving the phone around into something else that was asked in our chat about mindset. So on your, apparently somebody's really doing their homework and checking out your website and all that good stuff. And apparently you discuss combat mindset on your website. Mm-hmm. Now, I have personally experienced, you got that or you don't, and some people freeze in the moment. So reason number one, you wouldn't help, maybe litigation. Reason number two would be, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Right? So if you want to delve into your version of combat mindset.
The combat mindset that we talk about and that we discuss in class, and that's a great point too, because like we tell people all the time, we can provide you with the training, we can provide you with the right equipment, but the mindset is honestly the most critical thing there. I'd say the training and mindset are the most critical thing there, because you may not have the best equipment in the world, but you can still make it work. It's like was it Churchill said, I'd rather have a first-rate soldier with a third-rate weapon than a third-rate soldier with a first-rate weapon. Does that make sense? No. And yep. So the mindset is some people, and this is not being critical. Some people are doers, and some people are not. In a stressful situation, some people will react and run towards the situation, while other people will get their phones out and or freeze or leave. It all depends on what they've experienced, possibly, and to what level they've trained at. So that's why I'm a firm believer in training, because training may hammer out a little bit of that, but it's honestly in the real situations where the rubber meets the road, and you may not know how you react until that situation presents itself to you. So I mean, I hope that answers it okay. I don't know. I just, having the right mindset is something that's, to me, either A, you're born with, or B, even if you're not born with it, you can train and train and train and train some more. And it still may not be as good as a natural mindset, because like I said, some people have it, some people don't, but you're definitely going to be probably more apt to react than not. And TJ, maybe you can add something to that too. I don't know. I saw you nodding.
No, so there, you're 100% right. With training, it is a skill that you can develop. Not to get too much off the topic of medical and trauma and first aid treatment, stuff like that, but the military even themselves did a study on how many of their soldiers actually engaged the enemy up to and including the Gulf War. And right before the Gulf War, the U.S. military used to qualify on targets that were just circles, right? Very common. You see them at Camp Perry. I mean, everybody knows what these targets look like. 6 foot by 6 foot gigantic circle that gets parked out at like 1,000 yards or 500 yards or whatever have you. They found through interviews and an investigation, so to speak, that less than a quarter of the troops that were engaged in armed conflict actually aimed at the enemy, because while they might have had the mindset when it came down to actually aiming down the sights at a live human being, their heart wasn't in it, because it's completely different from shooting a paper target to shooting a human body, right? So that is where the military now trains with targets that we call green Ivans, the little plastic green army men that are the makeshift targets that we all qualify with whenever you go through the military. And this is universal across every military branch, because the intent is to not necessarily dehumanize the enemy, but certainly desensitize the troops to engaging in armed conflict against a human being. The same concept applies. And this is honestly one of the things that I love about the medical training that we've started to see, even following, the global war on terror, is that the training has become more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I see, and I know it's a block of silicone, but the fact that it's made to look like the quadricep or the upper thigh of a human body, or the lower portion of a torso that looks and feels like skin. The instructors usually work in a pump with red fluid in it to simulate blood pumping out of it from an arterial bleed. And while it seems goofy, like, oh, this is like some sort of messed up operation board game or something, but no, that training right there can help you desensitize yourself from seeing otherwise grotesque and hard to look at or gory situations.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. What we're doing in essence is conditioning.
Yes, exactly.
We're conditioning, and I think that helps us. And I tell people even in class, I've been doing this for 27 years, and when I'm taking care of somebody, or when I was taking care of somebody in the past, it would be, I would not to dehumanize the situation, but I would focus on the wound, because the wound is what was going to kill them. Right. And you kind of have to tune other stuff out. And so that's what I tell them. Focus on what you can do, focus on what you can fix. And you do that one thing and one thing at a time, because the whole stress response, and then you move on to the next problem, and you just keep solving problems, and you just look at them as a giant problem.
Right. And
that makes any sense.
But see, that actually speaks to another comment by Miss Albrecht in the chat here. A good thing that helps with mindset is having a routine down. Take the emotion out of it. And that's an absolute truth.
Which is Kerry, exactly how we teach.
Yeah, Kerry, just like you said, that's one of the reasons why the medical industry, at least leading up to this point, and I admittedly and shamefully need to get refresher training and more up-to-date training. For those that don't know, the medical industry changes so frequently.
Yes.
I mean, hell, for the past year, we've all been going back and forth on which tourniquet to use, Yeah. But universally, I have always seen a process, the ABCs, airway, bleeding, and concussion. All these different acronyms to help iron out that process.
Yep.
When addressing a casualty, because it does help you shift gears, and instead of, going up to and taking in the whole situation, you can go down that routine checklist and say, okay, is this person choking to death, or are they breathing? Okay, well, they're screaming bloody murder, so I'm pretty sure they can breathe. All right, what's next? Okay, bleeding.
Yeah.
I see a giant gash in their arm. Let's tackle that next.
Yeah.
So
that's it. It's all a systematic process. It's like I said, you're looking at that person, that patient, that victim, whatever you want to call them, casualty, as a problem. And everything we teach in our classes is just a problem solving tool. And it's a problem solving algorithm. It's just like if your car doesn't start in the morning, you have to start looking into what the problem is. You have to start problem solving and going into your little treatment algorithm on, yeses and nos on why the car is not working. And that's the same thing we do with the human body. And that's a lot of people, I think, don't come to medical classes too, because they're like, oh my God, this is too difficult. No, man, it's too difficult if people make it difficult. If people are using $20 words and talking at you and over your head versus to you and with you and getting feedback, then they shouldn't be teaching it. And
Yeah.
I've seen. Say again?
Yeah. I was just, the $1 million words thing, and we got that in the shooting industry too, right? And I was amazed when I found out that the March algorithm could be used the other 11 months of the year. I didn't know that was a thing either. So, listen, man, you gotta keep it real simple for some of us dudes around here. So,
100%. You got to keep things simple, man, because in a stressful situation, people ain't going to remember complicated. They're going to remember easy. They're going to remember the simple stuff. When I'm teaching people how to, for a hypothermia control using those Mylar blankets, when I'm telling people, hey, dude, turn them into a trauma taco. They're like, holy crap, I can totally get that. I say, hey, what's the 3 things the brain likes? Blood sugar and oxygen. Holy crap, I can get that. How do you check breathing? Look, listen, and feel. I mean, it's these little simple nuggets that people are going to remember in a stressful situation. They're not going to remember, has he got an autodysnomic problem? Nobody gives a fat rat's butt about that crap. They want to know, are they bleeding? Do they have an airway? Are they breathing? If they're talking to me, what's their circulation status? What's their brain? What's their mental status like? And start all over again. It's just, it should, we try to, I don't know if it's people who want to feel better about themselves, if their egos are so freaking fragile that they want to feel better about themselves by making other people feel stupid, which is just, to me, a dick move.
Yeah.
It's not the sign of a good educator. It's not the sign of a good person. I'm here to help people out, because what if it's me they're working on? What if it's my wife they're working on? What if it's one of my kids? That's, at the end of the day, I want to make somebody, if I can make them better than me, it's just like a shooter. If I can make them better than me, awesome. I'm not perfect. I fail every day, but I keep picking myself back up. And I think that's what makes you, if you're an educator, you got to educate. That's not instruct. Right. Anybody can be an instructor, but if you want to teach people, then you gotta believe that you can help them out, and you take the time to do it, and not overcomplicate things.
For sure. So let me.
That's just my 2 cents. Shut up now.
Linho, man, you're the guy. If we could just say Kerry, go, and just listen to you for an hour and a half, I would just do that too. You could just give us a TED talk, honestly. So
I appreciate it.
Let's be real here, Kent. We're both just jealous of his hairline.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you ain't seen a little thin spot there in the back.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, oh my God, you just blinded me, TJ. That hurt. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Bald since 22. Suck it.
Beautiful.
Oh my God. Okay.
Go ahead, Kent. We'll quit derailing the situation.
Yeah, I'm trying. God damn it, I'm trying. The train just keeps going. But schools, mass shootings, terrible things that are happening in our public society. If President Cheeto came to you tomorrow and said, Mr. Davis, you're in charge of our nation's schools. What are we going to do to solve this problem? I'm sure you've got some opinions from a tactical aspect, but I'm more interested in what can we do for the nurse to make her not suck at trauma? Really? I mean, what do you want to see?
actually let the nurse do something.
Yeah, there's that, right?
I mean, there's that. I mean, Jesus, you can't even give your kid a freaking Motrin, you know? You got to do like a permission slip for a Motrin. I mean, and I understand zero tolerance, but zero common sense is quite rampant, it seems like, too. But that's neither here nor there. What I would, okay, if he said, hey, you're in charge of all this. Okay, cool. Everybody, every school, every person that's an adult in that school is going to have at a minimum a 6-hour trauma course, minimum, focusing on injuries that we would see in active shooter, and that's based on the 2015 study. You see a lot of head injuries, a lot of thoracic injuries, not a whole lot of extremity injuries, believe it or not. A lot of thoracic, a lot of headshots. One, that obviously the tactical aspect we won't even get into, but everybody's going to have at least 6 hours of trauma training, and they're going to have refreshers on a annual basis. Everybody in that school, every adult in that school is going to be carrying a personal trauma kit on them. And in every classroom, there's going to be a trauma kit big enough for every person in that class. That's going to be another thing. And I think if you're a high schooler up, freshman and up, they need to sit through that. And it needs to be a mandatory graduation requirement, some sort of basic trauma training. So, I mean, back when I was a kid, it was like, wood shop and ag and driver's ed, I mean, you had to have that stuff, and home ec or whatever, which I think they should probably bring that back too, because kids can't even balance a checkbook. But trauma, teach these kids how to do that, because in a mass casualty situation, what are these kids that are older and more mature and more responsible going to be able to do too? The whole force multiplier thing I talked about, they're going to be able to help out too. So that's some of the things. So all the staff gets trauma training. All the staff gets trauma kits. If you're a 9th grader and up, you get that trauma training, that same exact trauma training. And it's a graduation requirement. And you have it every year, because things change every year. And there's trauma kits in the classroom big enough for every kid, or, enough for every kid in that classroom. That's me,
Awesome. Have you had any penetration into schools, Kerry? Have you done anything?
I just taught my daughter's school. I taught all the school resource officers there, and we're working on getting kits for the school right now. A lot of those guys have their own personal kits from us, but they're working on getting kits for them as well. And we're making some headway in getting the entire district trained up over the course of this school year. That's what we're hoping.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's I've heard too many people say, "Oh, it's too military." When I was up in Boulder County School District, I had one of the principals say, "Well, that's too militaristic," and I was like, "No, it's not. It's just trauma training. Just because my logo dude is holding a rifle, that's not militaristic. That's not, the training is not. You can have your own opinion you want to, but that's fine. But I ever since my youngest one has been, I guess she's 8 years old when I started doing this, she's been carrying a level 3A plate backer and a trauma kit in her bag. So that's the reality.
Well, and here's the other reality too, just in case somebody that's, anti-gun stumbles across this podcast. The applications that Kerry teaches go towards more than just horrific school shootings and major, we'll call them tactical events or incidents of mass murder. How many kids in high school will end up in a car accident because they were drunk driving
100%.
or texting and driving? What if one of those kids in that car just so happens to survive the crash, but had some training, and you've got 2 or 3 unconscious other people that were in that vehicle? Yeah. As of right now, that kid's standing there with his phone in his hand, asking Siri, "My friends won't wake up. What do I do?"
Yeah, exactly. You hit on a good point. Like I tell people all the time, we've hit a very small demographic. Our training is for every demographic. Every demographic needs this, man. It's like I said, you can carry a med kit freaking anywhere, and the training is only 16 hours. It's like I always tell people all the time, our training is 16 hours. Regret lasts forever. And that's one thing that people don't get across. They don't understand. Are they? Oh, he's just in the shooting community. No, man. This is the chances of you getting into that heat shootouts. I had to get it on, that type of thing. That's not going to happen. But the chances you see in a car accident or somebody gets hurt at home or on the job, if you work construction, holy hell, man! Have you seen construction accidents?
Yeah.
The chances are far more likely for that than you'll ever see anybody. I mean, we teach everything in that class, from brakes to springs to environmental injuries. The gunshot wounds. You know how many slides we do on gunshot wounds? About 6. That's about it out of 16 hours. So that will hopefully dispel and maybe entice some people to come to class. It's not a gunshot injury treatment class. It is the whole system, the whole body injury. Bless you.
Excuse me. So trying to reach for my
Kerry, yeah. we got to get you a hot button, Kent. Looks like you have written mass shooting trauma training curriculum for schools. Is there a way that people or advocates or people who are familiar with Dark Angel Medical can send schools to you?
Yeah, absolutely. If they want to send us through the info at Dark Angel Medical, our curriculum is accredited through the American College of Surgeons. So everything we teach is over and above what the Stop the Bleed campaign has been doing. If they're interested in getting their church security group, if they're interested in getting their school system into it, then absolutely. And I can put them in contact with people who would give us who could give us a reference. It wouldn't be just coming from us, attaboy and ourselves or tooting our own horn. They could talk to people who have actually had this training if they want to see how relevant it is for them and their staff.
Yeah. Now this might be a little far reaching here, but I'm going to ask the question: for if we were to chase the rabbit down the hole on your mandatory 6-hour trauma class, have you considered, with regards to it being pushed out to schools, at least for staff and faculty, kind of a train the trainer or ambassador type program so that you could reach more schools with that training curriculum?
Oh yeah. And I've already got that module built. So that's definitely a possibility. I mean, the Stop the Bleed campaign started doing that a couple of years ago, The big thing with that is just making sure people understand the rationale. That's where I see a lot of the dilution of the information coming down, is people who are maybe not medical, and then you become the person who is the instructor versus the person who is the teacher, because you're not in your wheelhouse, so to speak, and you're not in the area of comfort, and if you could give misinformation. Unintentionally, I should say. You know what I mean? And that's where there could be some. I could see some problems with that, and that's where I've seen some problems with some of the Stop the Bleed stuff, because I've had people come to my class who have had a Stop the Bleed class, and some of the stuff they're hearing from their Stop the Bleed instructors is absolutely 100% contradictory to what I'm telling them and some of the information. I'm like, no, that is absolutely false, and I'm going to show you the scientific studies to show you why that's false. Not just because I said so. I'm going to back it up with science. So
a trauma class isn't a place I would expect to find a Wednesday night at the Improv, but. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we'll say that instead, because I'm too self-righteous to admit that I'm not 100% sure right now.
Well, and that's unfortunately that's what you got, and that's where Stop the Bleed is a good thing. I believe it has a good intention, but they're actually talking about now doing some tighter controls on it, and I believe they should, because you need to have. And I'm not saying that from my standpoint. I'm saying it from giving misinformation out to the public, because misinformation can be a very dangerous thing. It's just like, how many years were we taught that tourniquets are going? If you put a tourniquet on, you're going to lose that limb. Misinformation right there. Hell, when I
Well,
came
wait a minute. Wait. Hold on now. My uncle was a corpsman. My uncle was a corpsman in the Civil War, goddammit, and Robert E. Lee told him, jeez.
yeah. And
That was to be fair, that was before tourniquets. They just cut the damn limb off.
exactly.
Oh, you're bleeding from a little hole in your leg? Let's get rid of it by cutting off the leg.
And even though we've got data that supports tourniquet use, it's been being used in the operating theaters since the 1800s. But again, it's misinformation that drove that. And again, we're still, even though the Stop the Bleed campaign is a great campaign, you still have some misinformation from some of the instructors in there, and that's going to have a trickle down effect as well to the students. And that's where, if you're going to have the 6-hour class, you need to have people teaching it who are medical and have certain validation, certain criteria that they have met, and certain boxes they have checked before they can actually teach it. Not just because I went to Ricky Bobby's Stop the Bleed training instructor program, now I can teach it. That's that's
I'm slowly tearing up a certificate under my desk right now as we speak.
I wait for you to send that to me on email too, man. I went to Ricky Bobby's. I don't want to bleed no more, because bleeding is bad and less bleeding is more gooder, training course or something like that.
I was at that class 3 weeks ago. It was great. Ricky does amazing work, man.
It's just dangerous, man. And that's where I think if people are going to be teaching this, they need to have a medical background to be able to explain the rationale to this stuff, because this is foreign territory to so many people. And if they don't know, if they're it's virgin territory to them, and they don't understand it, the worst thing you can do, it's just like getting a brand new shooter who's never held a gun before, is teaching them wrong.
Yep.
Yep.
So I've got I've got at least 2 more for you, but first I want to give you an opportunity. It occurs to me that we haven't really given you that opportunity, just in case Johnny or Joey podcast listener hasn't, by now gone to darkangelmedical.com. Please do that. If you haven't done that, give folks an idea of your curriculum a little bit. What are you offering to the general public? Non-mil, non-LE, just everyday Jane and Joe. What kind of courses are you offering?
Man, our main course is our everyday trauma care. It's just our, we call it direct action response training, and it goes in from it starts out nuts to bolts, how the body works, the different areas of the body that work, how they can get affected through various types of injuries, and how we can treat those types of injuries and what we can use to treat those types of injuries. And then we work into environmental emergencies, and then we work into we cover everything, heat injuries, cold injuries, toxins, things like that. Then we work into, how do I move people, how do I get people out of this bad area and this unsafe area. And it's not necessarily dealing with anything with an active shooter or bombing or anything like that. It could be something as simple as somebody laying in the middle of a roadway. How do I get these people out? How do I move them? How do I sort people out? How do I triage them? So people are actually going to learn how to triage different types of injuries with that. And then at the end of after that, they're going to learn how to use everything. They're going to learn how to do full-on patient assessments and challenge themselves and challenge each other and learn from each other on that too. And so it's 16 hours of I'm kind of biased, but I love teaching it. I love seeing it, and I love seeing the freaking light bulb go bling, pop on over their head, and I go, holy crap, now I get it. And holy crap, how did I not die like 16 times, in my life? Why am I not walking around with a crash helmet wrapped in Kevlar and bubble wrap right now? That type of thing. But like I tell people, if I don't make you more paranoid through my teaching, then I've not done my job right. But it's that's what people can expect. They can expect to learn a lot. They can expect to laugh. They can expect to be engaged. Yeah, it's PowerPoint, but believe me, man, it is definitely the way Ross teaches, the way Mike teaches, the way I teach. You're not gonna get death by PowerPoint. It's just, It's a lot of fun, and I think if people don't have a good time, then it's kind of like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet and leaving hungry. That's on you. Like my daddy used to say when he'd be up in the pulpit preaching, if that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. Because we love this stuff. We love
do me a
T-shirt.
favor?
T-shirt.
Yeah. Can you start a
T-shirt.
Mississippi T-shirt company called Kerry's Sayings and Smooth Jazz or something, dude?
Dude, I got plenty more of them where it came from. Just come to a class, you'll see. And I guarantee you that you can talk to people who've come to classes before, and they will say that they have had a great time. And if they didn't, like I said, that's a personal thing, but we give it our all. And then that's the Dart 1. We have taught one Dart 2 class. That's the Direct Action Response Training 2 up in the Northwoods Training Facility up in Michigan. My good buddy Trex up there, and that was our first class. Was this past summer, and it was awesome. We had a full class, had all the moulage, all the simulated injuries, things like that, all kinds of different scenarios, and that just basically kind of piggybacks onto the Dart 1 class to give you a lot more stress, a lot more realism, even more so than what you'd see in Dart 1. But we've only done that once, and we're looking at doing it a couple more times up there next year. So y'all come on up.
Very cool, for sure. Question number 2 that occurred to me was something that I do, and I'd like to hear your take on it. And I'm literally, I don't care if you tell me I'm all screwed up on a podcast, tell me. Like, that's fine. I'm really asking the question. For every gun class I put on, regardless of what it is, I do a med plan and a med brief with students, right? And I'm finding that I'm asking the question very, very infrequently. Do I say, hey, do I have any doctors, nurses, EMTs in the house? And some guy goes, yeah, dude, I'm a trauma medic. Like, it's very infrequently. So I've been taking people through a 5 to 10 minute, this is what this is and this is what it does, just so you know, in case, for God's sakes, I'm the one laying here in a puddle of my own shit. Because we're a little remote. We don't exactly have, there's 3 ridged roads in Lewisberry, Pennsylvania, and the range is on one of them. So good luck with that nonsense. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, for the firearms trainer guys out there, what do you like for the med intro, and what do you like for your process for that? As far as, we got handgun 1 today, we got handgun 2 today, whatever we got going. We got 6 to 12 people standing there, plus an instructor and an AI. Obviously, the AI being squared away helps, but I'm getting a lot of privates right now. So it's, it's a one-on-one environment. How far should I be taking that, or should I not be?
No, I would. I mean, one thing I've seen over the last several years is the introduction of a med plan, and I'll say that's one thing I've seen up at SIG since I've been there, as the med plan, because talking about it before it happens is a much easier process than talking about it after it happens. We like to say we like to ward off those evil spirits. It's like, hey, we have a range bag here. I have a med kit. Who all has a med kit on you? Who all has been trained to use that med kit? That's the more important question. Because some dudes just get a med kit. Oh, well, I don't know how to use it, but I haven't had a class yet. I'm gonna if somebody else knows how to use it, they can take it from me, type of thing, or use it on me. And that's another question I ask. And if people say, well, and I say, well, where is your med kit? I want to know where it is on everybody on the line. Anybody in here having medical training, like you ask? You've had, EMT basic, or you've had emergency first responder, whatever, or you could be cardiothoracic surgeon, whatever. I want to make sure, I want to see who all's got the medical training in there, and I'll assign who I think has the most field medicine as my secondary medic. Hey, if you got multiple people in the class, have primaries and alternates as, hey, you call 911, let them know there's been a training accident, or whatever verbiage you want to use. If they're injured, here, you're the secondary person. You're going to always have like a primary and secondary medic, runner, whatever, have a designated vehicle set aside to maybe throw the casualty in and meet somebody at the ambulance if it's a far piece out. if there's a helicopter landing zone, is there anywhere, if it's a bad enough injury, is there anywhere nearby to set up a helicopter? Do you have smoke? Do you have Viz 17 panels? Do you have anything like that? I mean, I ain't saying get a 9-line out or anything, but it's something to
I've
have
got
all
the
that
t-shirt.
information.
Does that count?
Do what?
I got the t-shirt. Does that count? The 9-line t-shirt?
Exactly. Yeah, 9-line.
Right.
Yeah, and it's something to if you have all that hammered out beforehand, I think that's going to make the class a lot less, if something did happen, at the first sign of anything bad, everybody holsters up, safe and holster, and we go cold and we take care of the medical problem that there's a medical problem. That's just the process that I follow.
So I pretty much do the exact same thing. My question, I'm gonna drill down just a little further. So it's me and another guy. It's me and Jim Bob that just paid for Ricky Bobby's 2-hour handgun awesome class. How far do I take him through any kind of? Because do you have a med kit? No. I mean he forgot ammo today, right? Like we're talking.
All right. Okay.
The level of conversation I'm having with a brand new, and I mean new, I'm sure I've got students that'll hear this. It's just, those people are coming from another world and from a very beginner basic level. And sometimes it'll surprise you. I had a Thursday night a couple weeks ago. All right, same thing you and I just went through. And the dude's like, whoosh, he just whips out all this awesome stuff and he's got all these credentials. And I said, well, my man's in charge, clearly. I'm going to shut my mouth, right? He was ready to go. And I looked at him. He goes, I don't know shit for guns, but I know my medical stuff. Okay, great, man. That's perfect.
That's a perfect student right there, man.
Perfect.
You want somebody that if something goes bad, then you clean slate him through the firearm stuff. So
how far should I be taking the private student through? Should I even be breaking the kit open and showing them what's inside it? Should I be, this is a tourniquet, this is a chest seal? I mean, how far do I go?
100%. I would. I do. Okay. If we have any privates up there at SIG, I still follow the same process. And I'm like, if it's you that shot, obviously I'll be activating 911 on my speakerphone and taking care of you. If it's me that shot, I want you to do the same thing. And I run them through here. Hey, do you have a med kit? If not, here's the range med kit. Here's what's in the range kit. And I have a training tourniquet. I break it down and show them how to use that trainer, and where it goes. It does not go here on my neck if my head's bleeding, type of thing. So, but you got to break it down like that. And I think that's if you follow the same process, whether you have 1 or whether you have 15 or 16, I think you're setting yourself up for success more than failure.
Yep, for sure. I just, it's not within my lane to be teaching somebody how to use that stuff necessarily. And I'm always cognizant of that as I approach this. I'm like the opposite of every other instructor dude on the internet. I'm like actually in my own lane. It's an amazing place to be. It's really quite something. But
it's utopia.
Right. Where I just only say things that I absolutely know for certain, or at least think I do. And when somebody asks me a question, I say, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. Like, it's amazing. It's a real thing.
Well, if you answer any question with enough confidence,
right?
Yeah. But it's funny how that works too, because I've said that in class. People ask me a question like, you know what? I've literally never heard that question before. It's a great question, and I do not know the answer to that, but I will find out and let you know.
Right.
And I'll talk to Siri on a break. No, but it's definitely no. That's a good thing to do, man. It's a good plan to have, and like I've got like a Kyle DeFore. He's really big on the medical stuff. And he will sit there and have a little med brief in class. And he's a big proponent of our med kits as well. So, and he pushes our product, which I'm very thankful for Kyle for doing that, because it's nice to see somebody he's like, look, you got to have a med kit on you. That's part of your loadout. Not pistol, mags, holster, eye pro, ear pro, med kit. It kind of all goes together. Like peanut butter and chocolate. You can't have Reese's peanut butter cup without peanut butter and chocolate. You can't have a complete loadout without a med kit and your guns. Just saying.
No, for sure. It's amazing how many dudes kills me with competition shooters. I can't tell you how many guys are, killer awesome competition shooters. You can't get them to carry a med kit.
Dude.
I gotta jump in on that one. I will say that the competition community has been doing much better. You are at least seeing people reserve some space on their belt for the tourniquets.
Right.
So I know I've got a full med kit on my competition belt.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because that's a huge sore spot with me. And we've actually got a couple of sponsored shooters that wear our kits on their belts while they're in competition.
Yep. And
it's amazing to me. I've had people say, I was up at one of the shoots at SIG, and it was aiming for 0, the first one we did up there, and I was like, "Hey, where's your med kit?" He's like, "Oh man, those things are heavy." I was like, "Dude, you got like 9 million rounds of ammo on you right now. You got like
hey, bro. Ounces equal pounds. Pounds equals pain."
Yeah. How's that pain of that round ripping through your leg? And it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way a few times, and I'm kind of vocal about it, and maybe in a not so PC way, but I'm like, look, man, that's bullshit. That's BS, and I want people to understand. Like, I'm not trying to be a hard ass about it, but it's just, I'm passionate about it, and I care about people, and it's one of those things that it definitely goes together. You got to do it.
No, that's actually a question I even started asking. Like, when I go to especially if I go to a new range where it's a new group of guys and girls with a competition, USPSA match, 3-gun match, whatever the case might be, it doesn't matter. If I'm squatted with a bunch of people I don't know, after they do the little range safety brief, like, "Okay, welcome everybody, here's how today's going to work," I raise my hand. "Hey, who in this group has medical training to some extent?"
Yeah, 100%.
I do. Who's a military veteran? Who's EMT? Like, ask the question. Especially if you go to the range with a bunch of strangers. But I'll tell you what, it only takes getting peppered with a ricochet once to realize that you better have something more than ammo on your belt.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And it's having that plan, like I was saying, it's just having that plan is going to be all the difference in the world, when and if something bad happens. And it's like if we're all shooters, then it's just a matter of time before somebody does launch one through their hand or their foot or the side of their leg. Going to have that, it's going to happen. And to have that plan is way better than being reactive. And be proactive about it and have it already hammered out. And it's like, one of my good friends was at a range event the other day, and she said that she went and asked him, "Well, do you have range med kit?" "Oh, well, we've got some tampons and, some like cravats and things like that." And I was like, wow. So they must be expecting a lot of people to be menstruating that day on the range,
or a nosebleed.
Or a nosebleed, yeah, because we've used them for nosebleeds in the ER. But I was just
that's about. Aside from the obvious, outside of their intended use, that's about the only thing they're good for.
Yeah, and that's as I tell people in class. So tampons have no place in a gunshot wound kit, and your belt is made to keep your britches up over your butt. That's it. It's not meant to be a tourniquet, because in all the studies that have been done on improvised tourniquets, the improvised tourniquets without any kind of mechanical device, like a windlass, anything to spin it, failed miserably, like almost 100%. And even the ones that did have a windlass only worked like 62% of the time, the improvised ones. And so that's still a big. I mean, how heavy is a soft T wide? When it's flat folded, how heavy is a cat tourniquet? Those, it doesn't take much to carry that extra little bit of reassurance with you. You got guys, you got guys with their pocket dumps, and they've got like, their flint and steel and their sextants and their spyglass and 4 knives and 3 magazines and 2 pistols and a backup gun to that one. I'm like, dude, if you fall in a creek, you're going to drown. Where's your med kit? And I don't have room for it.
So this week's podcast training challenge: identify, define, and know the use of a sextant.
Yes, in its correct context.
Yeah, I know what is actually. It just shows how boring my life is. I know what a sextant
Me
is.
too, dude. I'm a huge nerd. So yeah, and so I'm right there with you, bro. Right there with you.
So yeah. Oh God.
So I'm going to ask a question, Kerry, that I know for certain you've never been asked on a podcast. And when I say no for certain, I hope I'm correct because I'm pretty sure you've never been asked this. But this happened to me on the range 2 matches ago. What about a snake bite?
I have honestly, I've never. You're right. I've never been asked that question on a podcast.
Ooh.
What kind of snake was it?
Well, according to my zoologist buddy, who's also a photographer. No, I'm just effing with you, Josh. Josh knows his shit. Apparently, it was not a poisonous snake, so it doesn't matter. But he got my boot. He didn't get anything else. But it got me thinking. I thought, shit, I think I know how to. Watching Archer the other day, they were trying to suck Archer's taint to get the venom out. I don't know if that's the
tourniquet the taint.
Yeah, you can't
Cyril.
Cyril, God damn it. So what do you do?
Okay, snake bites. Even a non-poisonous snake, if it gets skin, like a king snake or something like that, those little boogers are constrictors. All right, so they have all these little sharp teeth, and those sharp teeth are nasty. So you can still get a pretty gnarly infection from something like that, from a non-poisonous snake bite. Poisonous snake bites, your best treatment plan of action, immobilize the extremity, because typically it's going to be an arm or a leg, but keep it below the level of the heart, keep them as calm as possible, and get them the hell to the hospital. That's it. There is no snake bite cure kit. There's no suction kit. There's no using a taser to reverse the polarity of the venom. All that kind of horse crap.
Hold on.
Wait.
Hold on.
Dude, legit had somebody tell me that.
Okay, Kerry, we gotta have you come back
on here after he got bit. Jesus
I was like,
Christ.
so let me get this straight.
Poor bastard.
I just got bit by a water moccasin, and you want me to stun gun the piss out of myself? That sounds appropriate.
Oh my God.
No, but these are some of the things I've heard. Tourniquets and things like that. Honestly, let's look at, because I hate snakes. So I'm gonna get real deep in the weeds on this, dude. I will run like a 2-year-old girl. I'll scream if I see a snake on TV. I put my feet up my easy chair, bro. I abhor snakes. King snakes, we're good. I'm not going to screw with you. You're not going to screw me because you eat the bad ones. But if I see you, I'm still going to pee down my leg a little bit. Here's the deal: pit vipers. Okay, in the United States, we have 3 indigenous pit viper, or well, you got more subsets of, but you got rattlesnakes, you got water moccasins, and you got copperheads. Okay, those are in the Crotilidae family. Those things are called pit vipers because they have a second mandible and they have heat sensing pits behind their nose and in front of their little evil elliptical shaped pupils. And the second mandible actually helps those fangs extend out and unsheath when they open their mouth up and bite, and they're hypodermic, like they're hollow, so they inject venom like a hypodermic needle. All right, so these are your pit vipers. And so rattlesnakes have the highest potency venom, and then water moccasins, and then copperheads. Most of the snake bites we have, most of the Crotilidae snake bites we have are 92% are like rattlesnakes, because you got like all kinds of different rattlesnakes. You got prairie rattlers, you got Mojave greens, you got eastern diamondback, western diamondback, cane breaks or timber rattlers, pygmy rattlers, all kinds of rattlesnakes. Water moccasins are nasty because they have poor eyesight and they're very territorial, so they're like pissed off and blind all the time, and so they'll come at they won't say come at me, bro. They'll come at you, bro. And then copperheads can also inflict some damage, but they're not as bad. But the big thing with this is people were teaching it a long time ago. Oh, you want to tourniquet that off, or you want to wrap a bandage around that and use this thing called the pressure immobilization technique, or the pressure immobilization bandage. American Red Cross and those guys were teaching that back years ago because they learned it from Australia. Well, it works great for Australian type of snakes because those snakes have a neurotoxin, in which case it gets localized. They kind of they kind of compartmentalize it. Thank you, into the lymph system there, so it doesn't circulate. You do that crap with a crotolid venom. It's very caustic. It's a hemotoxic venom. It has neurotoxic components, but it's mostly hemotoxic, which means it starts destroying all that tissue.
Yeah.
And it basically, what you're doing is you're localizing that tissue damage, versus it's actually better to let it hemodilute. And I talked to this dude that was a herpetologist at CU. I was taking care of him in an intensive care unit because he got bit by a rattlesnake. So I took care of him for a few days. So I got up in his head. But the thing is, man, all that stuff is out the window. Get them to the hospital, because they need to get anti-venom on board ASAFP. That's the best thing you can do for it. Nothing else needs over-the-counter things like these suction things. Those are just, like I said, you just might as well spit on a forest fire, because it's farting in the wind. It ain't happening. It's not going to work. So get these folks to the hospital, and be prepared to pay a hefty fee, because the average cost of that stuff is between $3,000 and $6,000 a vial, and it takes an average of about 3 vials to even get the envenomation reversed. So it's pretty gnarly.
If anybody wants to do some trippy YouTube searches later, check out the effects of hemotoxic venom on blood.
Yeah.
Because they'll put the blood in like a beaker or a petri dish, and they'll drop some of that hemotoxic venom on it. Yeah, just a drop, and watch what happens. That I'll tell you what, that'll make you swear off Dr. Pimple Popper for the rest of your life.
Yeah, dude. And something else, man. Pit vipers, I want to say this is hugely important. They have a bite reflex that's active up to 8 hours post-mortem. Okay. So even if you decapitate them, they can still bite you. So that is something else. People go out in the woods, things like that. I grew up in Southeast Mississippi, so I know what I'm talking about. I grew up on a big plot of land out there, so we had all these snakes down there. But the head, they can, even if the head's decapitated, it can still bite you up to 8 hours post-mortem. So be very cautious of that stuff. The big thing is just identifying the snake that bit you before you can get the emergency room. Sorry, like I said, I told you I was going to go way deep in the weeds, man. But know your enemy.
I'll tell you what. That was like Archer talking about Crocs. I said snake, and you just went. You're freaking Crocodilus ceruleus septilius fucking Linnaean nomenclature.
Hey man,
God, that's awesome.
I am not a fan of the serpent. Anything that I feel, and I might piss some snake people off, but I'm sorry. Anything that moves without arms or legs is an aberration of nature. So I just don't.
No, here's the thing though, Kerry, I'm right there with you, man. So spiders is my thing. I don't do. I'll kill a spider in a heartbeat. I am not the biggest fan of spiders. I moved into this house that I'm in 2 years ago, and it had a brown recluse infestation.
Yeah.
Welcome to my hell.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those cats either. My wife.
But I'll tell you what. Guess who learned everything there is to know about the brown recluse spider overnight?
You did.
Oh yeah.
Know your enemy, bro. That's what I always say. Know your enemy. My wife is the same way with spiders as I am with snakes. So I was like, all right, I'll take care of the spiders. You take care of the snakes. Excuse me. Take care of the snakes, and we're good.
So one further deepening of the snake rabbit hole. What about those of us redneck assholes who go out like chasing animals around in the woods with bows and shit? And we're deep in, not like on the other side of the Taco Bell where you can just see the highway, kind of sort of deep in the woods, but like fucking out there, right?
Kent, you say what you want. I saw that deer.
I synced it.
What is there any different?
How deep?
Hour and a half by 4-wheeler to the truck, and then 40 minutes to the hospital. Should I just shoot myself? I mean, it's,
yeah, no. How good's your cell signal?
Garmin InReach.
Then you better be hitting that InReach button, buddy, and you better have the search and rescue insurance.
Gotcha.
That's the best thing. If you're outside of standard 911 cell signal, line of sight, anything like that, if you've got the InReach or something like that, then pay that extra $100 and whatever it is a year for that insurance and hit that button.
I
like
absolutely
you just won the freaking jackpot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's worth it. And because they can get you, because the more you move, the more you're going to be circulating that venom around, and the more profound the effects could become.
Just hydrate like a son of a bitch, or do anything, or just lay there and take it. I mean,
that's about it. Yeah,
okay.
just hydrate. I mean, obviously make sure none of his other butthole buddies are around, but hydrate and I don't even know if I would take anything by mouth, because you could start throwing up, and you got to worry about protecting your airway if you're losing consciousness, things like that. So I would just leave it as is. They're going to give you plenty of IV fluids when they get to you. And if you can, let them know, maybe have a notepad or something, write down what you were bitten by, or if you've killed it, it's going to be close to you, not close to you, but close enough. So no, that's a great question. People ask me that in class all the time. What if I'm way back in the woods? I'm like, you need to have some sort of device, some sort of EPIRB, emergency personnel beacon, that you can get the heck out of Dodge.
InReach is like, if y'all don't know about the Garmin InReach,
dude, it's amazing. Yeah,
Good.
It's amazing.
Damn. Yeah. But I can't think of any other terrible, dangerous, evil animals to ask you about. I would assume the treatment is much the same for chupacabras and werewolves and yetis and shit. So,
Yeah, the silver stakes and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Kent, if you would quit shunning your wife for being a fan of Supernatural, you would know how to address these problems. I'm just saying.
Hey,
did you hear that? Did you just hear that? I just heard her laugh up there. She just went, that's how you know she's watching.
Hey, you've got to use the powdered iron shotgun shells. Okay, that's what you got to use.
If you'd watched last week's show, you'd know I can't hit worth a goddamn with a shotgun. I'm the only guy on the planet who can miss the barn from the inside with a shotgun. I assure you. God.
So what you're saying is you couldn't hit a bowl of balls with a bass fiddle?
T-shirt time. God, it's amazing with this guy.
Man,
your words.
Yeah. Phrasing.
I really got to up my barnyard analogies here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I want to take that, TJ.
JV just stepped onto the varsity field, man. Jesus.
No, man. I think people with everything, just like with the snake bite stuff, we've learned a lot of different stuff. Just like with bleeding control stuff, we have had a complete paradigm shift in the way we treat hemorrhagic injuries now than we did when I came in the military in 1991. And it's been a long time, and we've learned a lot, and we learned through other people's misfortune, but it's made us better caregivers in the long run. And to get rid of that bad information, it's like the dudes who are like, oh, tourniquet the snake bite. No, don't do that. You ain't Rooster Cogburn. Don't suck it out neither. It ain't like freaking True Grit. We ain't doing that.
Last I checked, it didn't work out in that movie either.
No, it did not. She still lost her arm.
Yeah. I got a lot of good friends. I don't know if I have any of them willing to suck anything on me to get venom out or not. So I think I'm probably that ain't gonna happen, honestly.
I think it looks at you like, yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Doctor said you're gonna die.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
But there's really nothing you carry in your med kit or in a med kit that's going to help out with a pit viper envenomation. And it's just try to keep your distance from them. And honestly, wear snake boots if you're going out in an area you got snakes. If you got feral hogs in your area, I learned this horrifying fact while I was down in Texas on a pig hunt a couple years ago. They said, oh yeah, make sure you get your snake boots on because the rattlers down here have stopped rattling.
Oh, for Christ's sakes.
What?
Yeah, dude, as an evolutionary process, they stopped rattling because the pigs they're immune to the venom, right? So if they hear rattling, what do the pigs do? Oh, I got a snack. and they'll go eat the snake. So the rattlesnakes have actually stopped rattling down there to a large extent. It's a survival mechanism. So
They
don't get
seem to
eaten
be
by the hogs.
unclear on the term rattlesnake.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, exactly. That's hard. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh, great!" So I'm not ever leaving my bunk at all. So I was as bad as I am. Yeah. So I carried one of the little Bond Arms Derringers with a 410 shot shell in it. That was my backup snake gun right there.
Yep.
So,
Got one of those myself.
Well, sucker works well, man. I blasted a
yeah.
copperhead with it a couple of years back. It does a number.
It's really hard for that 8-hour bite response to last when that head ain't there anymore. I'm just saying.
Yeah, when that head's turned into pate, here's a little copperhead pate. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in executing with extreme prejudice on those things.
Well, this will warm the subcockles of your heart. The timber rattlers in Tennessee are a protected species.
Dude, are you serious?
I am dead serious. Now,
holy crap.
Then again, self-defense is a son of a bitch.
Yeah, that was what I was looking at, maybe moving up to New Hampshire to work full time up there years back in like 2012. And I was like, y'all have snakes up there? And I said, oh yeah, we got rattlesnakes. They're timber rattlers, but they're an endangered species. I was like, well, they'd become even more endangered if I ran across one on my property. But yeah, I'm not going to go out looking for them.
Yeah,
that's horrifying.
Yep.
I can honestly say that I've looked at my feet about 47 times in the last 10 minutes, just in case anybody's wondering.
That's where they get you, man. That's where they always get you.
If anybody's watching this and wondering, what the hell's that dude looking down for all the time? Just, aware of my surroundings.
It's because we're talking about all the creepy crawlies. You start to actually feel them there.
Dude.
And people are like, you're talking about snakes? I'm like, yeah, because you know why? People who are out and about, people who are outdoors, people, I don't care if you don't hunt, if you hike, if you camp, whatever, if you go ride your ATVs, I mean, there's a possibility. So that's why we talk about that stuff during class. That's why I tell people we talk about a little bit of everything, because we call it everyday trauma care or everyday medicine, because that's what you're gonna be dealing with way more than you'll be dealing with a terrorist bombing or an active shooter situation or something like that.
So
big time.
I would just love to ask you about all the other things in my everyday life that could kill me that I haven't considered yet. But as it turns out, we've been here pushing an hour and a half. Why don't you hit us?
Holy crap.
Why don't you hit us with your plugs, where people can find you, what you want folks to find on the internet, all that good stuff. And we'll move to wrap, and then we'll go to the after party and talk more deadly, terrible stuff.
Right on, man. Yeah. Well, just look us up on darkangelmedical.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. If you have questions about our products, or you want to host a class in your local area, people think, oh, why aren't you ever here? Why aren't you ever there? We're not ever there because people don't want to host us, or they choose not to host us. We're 100% dependent on hosts willing to bring us in. If you host us, you get a free spot, you get your free med kit, other stuff that we can talk about, and there's ways that we can make it work. And all we need is somewhere to put butts in seats, man. And that's literally it, to make the magic happen and get people trained up, get them educated. And so shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and tell them you're interested about hosting a class. And for trauma kits, trauma training, for online training, we've got that on our website. Trauma kits, we've got everything from stuff that goes on your ankle, stuff that goes in your back pocket, stuff that goes in a cargo pocket on your belt, whatever, in your car, on your visor, on your headrest. I'm trying to take the excuses out, because that's all they are, is BS excuses. If you say, well, I don't carry a med kit because, then I don't carry a med kit because. That's 7 words. Those first 7 words I'm going to discount, because there's absolutely no reason you should not be carrying some sort of medical on your body at all times, unless you're naked. And then I don't even want to go into that. But learn how to use it, carry it, learn how to use it. go to the website, check out things on the website, check out if you have other questions about it, check out TCCC guidelines and make sure you get the most current updated TCCC. And when I say TCCC, I'm talking about Tactical Combat Casualty Care. That's where a lot of the information comes from. Look up at getting a Stop the Bleed class. It'd be a good primer to come into our class but don't just look at it as a stopping point. Look at it as a jumping off point to get even more training. Come take one of the classes with us, man. We have a good time doing it. As far as the products go, though, a lot of people don't know this too. They're like, if you ever use one of our products to save someone's life, you let us know, and we will gladly, happily replace everything that you've used. We will inspect everything else. We will repack it, and we'll ship it back out to you at no cost. That's called our Kit for Life guarantee. So I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, your med kits are expensive." Well, they're not. They're not the cheapest on the market, but we also put solid stuff in there, and they're definitely not the most expensive on the market. And I could talk about that, but I'm not, because there's a lot of companies out there that have a lot more expensive med kits than ours with poor quality items, I should say, and not scientifically proven items. But I guarantee you that if you use it to save somebody's life, they may not give you the same guarantee, but we do. And I'll stand behind that. And I'm definitely happy to give free product out whenever it's for a save. But that's it, man. Just, I can't stress it enough. Get a kit, make a difference, get the training and carry that thing and be a by-doer, don't be a bystander, be a by-doer, because at the end of the day, we're responsible for each other, and we're responsible for the ones that are around us. And, to not do that, I think, is a travesty. So,
yeah. So
that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Dude, it's been a great episode.
Thank you.
107 people.
Yeah.
107 people. As so aptly put it, get another birthday.
Yeah.
So if that's not saying something, and I don't know I'd love to have you back, in a while. And I don't know I don't know if I want to hear 207 or like 0 more, right? Like, I don't know what to think.
I'd love it, man. That'd be awesome.
All right. Yeah, but I mean, that means somebody had a bad day then too, though, right? So it's just amazing though. 107, that's a great number. That's my new favorite number for the week.
I'm pretty stoked about that, man.
TJ, bud, take us home.
All right, folks. So that's the show. Kerry, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast this week.
Thank you, brother.
We have truly enjoyed it. And my brother, you have a standing invitation to come back whenever you feel the need.
I appreciate it.
So, folks, if you haven't been paying attention or you're just now catching us into the podcast and it's the end, you can always refer to the description where you can find all of Kerry's links for Dark Angel Medical, Facebook, Instagram, and their website. Of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd follow Kent and myself. I am the Lead Sling'N Ginger on YouTube. Kent is Green Mountain Defense. Head on over, check him out. Go check Kent out at greenmountaindefense.com. Go get you some quality training this week. And keep an eye out for future classes with Kerry. By all means, head over to his website, look where he might be hosted, and go get some training. Go save a life, because the training that you get may be saving your own. With that, everybody, I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent. Good night. Thanks so much.
God bless you all. Take care.